And I know these niggas mad as fuck. Bitch, I'm in a trap with T and we throw it up.
Subscribe. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a soft glam on my favorite model here. So basically I'm just doing her skin prep. I did setting spray, I did moisturizer and primer, and then I carved out her brows with some brow lift, and now I'm just carving out brows with concealer. First, start off just by carving the bottom of your eyebrow, and you're gonna do this with a lighter concealer shade. This will be the brightest concealer shade you're gonna use on your face, so whatever shade that is, use that for your brows. Okay, it's very important. And on top, I'm also gonna use the same concealer shade as well, just so I can get a cleaner finish. And then I'm going to blend out the edges of the concealer with the fluffy concealer brush, just so I can get a soft finish and blend into the rest of the foundation seamlessly. Once I've blended out the concealer around her face, I'm just going to go in under her eyes with the color corrector, just to even out her skin tone under her eyes, because she does have dark circles under her eyes. And then I'm going to carve out the rest of her face with a liquid contour. This positioning of the contour is very important. You want to do under her chin, your high cheekbones, right under your eyes, your nose. The tip of the nose I normally do just to give her a button nose effect, and then I'm also doing her forehead, of course, and then around her lips just to give a bigger lip illusion, if that makes sense. And then I'm also gonna go on top of the contour with some liquid blush, and so that it seamlessly blends in together with the contour. So once I put on the other foundation colors, it all blends in and it's not too much. Add her foundation to the rest of her face. You just want to brush this onto her face just so that it's even and it's all one solid color. And then I'm going in with the same brush and just blending it out. So yeah, you're just gonna blend that out. I put this all around the bottom of her face and a little bit of her forehead just to carve out what I did not put any makeup on. So that's in between the contour, the liquid contour and the blush, and then around her mouth. And then you're gonna also use the concealer shade that we carved out her eyebrows with to do under her eyes. This is very important. You want to put it in the inner corner of your eyes and the outer corner. And then also, just to make the eyebrows pop and have a clean finish, I do carve it out with the concealer as well, the in between her brows and the first, like her T-zone of her brow, just so that it's more like flawless and like it stands out and it's clean. And then I just take that concealer and I just brush it out so it's more of like a V shape or a triangle shape, I should say, on her face, and then also like under her chin and above her lip, just so that it's brightening in her T-zone with that same concealer shade. And then I'm also gonna take a damp beauty blender and blend out the edges of her concealer. This is important. Why is it important? Because when you blend out the edges of the concealer, it's gonna melt into the contour and the liquid blush first, while the inside of the concealer, which is under her eyes that we haven't touched with the beauty blender, is gonna set and stay. And when you're blending it out, make sure that you're also going on top of your eyelids as well, just so that everything is more seamless and it's not just makeup like not blended and just, you know, creasing and things like that. And also, it's also important, make sure your client is always looking up while you're blending out under eye, just so that the makeup gets everywhere and it's easily and seamlessly blended out properly. And then I'm also gonna take brush that I did use just to go on top with just the excess contour color that I had, because the concealer sometimes does get lost, so you want to do that. I did add a brighter color of concealer in the inner corner of her eyes just to brighten up the eye look. And then I'm also going to blend it out with the Beauty Blender. And then I did use setting spray just to finish it off so that everything is evenly melted. And then quickly after that, you want to use a fan just so that everything is evenly dry and it's not dripping. And then you're going to go in with the transparent setting powder right after you set her face. You're just going to want to blend out the setting powder right under the creases of her eyes. Blend it out. Make sure that you're not using too much. Use a little bit of powder first and so there's no creasing. And then I'm going in with more powder of the translucent powder, right? I'm having a heavier hand and I'm just brightening all the spots I want to be bright on her face. So the brightening spots would be all her T-zone area. So that's her inner corner of her eye and allowing her nose so the contour of her nose stands out more, the bridge of her nose, the tip of her nose, under her chin. And then while that's setting and baking, I'm gonna go in with the eyeshadow. The reason why I do eyeshadow after the makeup, especially with Soft Glam, is so that if any powder eyeshadow comes off the brush, then it just falls onto the powder, and once I finish baking, I can brush it off. So I just use the same shades that I used to contour her nose and the rest of her face, and I use that as the base foundation shade of her eyeshadow. Then I'm gonna go in with a lighter shade of contour for the inner corners of her eye, and for the middle of her eye, just use a shade that's in between those two shades. And just a tip for anyone that wants to recreate this eyeshadow look, I would just suggest use the same colors you use for your contour. And yeah, use that for your eyeshadow. And I also go in with under her nose just to elevate that contour more, and around her lips. And now I'm going in with some blush as well. So normally I just go with the liquid. So whatever you use that liquid, use a powder after. So after everything's set and baked, use a powder to go on top of it just to make everything pop. And then I'm just going to just brush off extra powder that's just been baking on her face. And then I'm going in again with the setting spray just so that it melts the makeup together. This is literally chef's kiss. As well as after that is dry, I just go in under her eyes and just use a contour shade as well. And then I'm just gonna cover her brows with some eyeshadow just to make it soft, just to clean it up, just to make it pop.
It seemed like I get so much and don't get nothing back. I really thought it was love, but you're so fucking whack. Always get caught up in love, but I am.
And on top of that too, here's a little trick. If you guys didn't know, what I normally do is if I want an elevated eyeshadow look to make it look sharp without using additional concealer or anything, just to give some like illusion of shadow or powder eyeliner, I normally take a card or anything that has a sharp line and I lay it against my client's face, and then I just go in with the darkest shade that I use and I just pat down the powder. And what that does is it just makes a sharp elevated line, and it makes it look like you spent an extra 30 minutes on eyeshadow but you really only added extra 20 seconds. And then I did go under her eyes with some eyeshadow as well, some black eyeshadow, just to make it look a little cute. And then obviously add the lashes, mascara, a little extra blush. And my favorite part, the lips. So I did use 2 different eyeshadow shades to do her lip. I did use a brown and I did use a dark rich brown that almost looks black, as you can see on the left, just to cover her natural lip color. And then just to melt the colors together, I used a brown, obviously chestnut, my favorite. And then on top of it, just to melt those 2 pencils together, I do use a brown lip gloss just to blend the browns together and really make it pop. And then in the center, I just used just a rosy pink, the same shade of liquid blush I used, I mixed it in with one of my glosses just so it can all match. Just laid it right on top and just made it pop a little more, just to give her more of a rosier look. Also, with your clients, if you ever have clients with really big lips, make sure you ask them to close their mouth so that you can get all around her lip and you're not missing any spots and you're really making a crispy line without using extra makeup to define her lip. And then on top of just the finished touches, I do go in with the highlighter just to make everything pop as a finishing touch. And that's pretty much it. And yeah, this is one of my favorite looks, and this is my signature soft glam. Hope you guys love this video. Book with Face Card by Shay. Like, subscribe, and comment. Face card never decline. Subscribe. And I know these niggas fast.